Okay, so I was going to do a talk about both wheel weights and my new set of pallet forks I got, but the wheel weight video went a little bit long here. I kind of went through and just looked at what I had all filmed, and I'm not going to bore you with that. So instead of combining these two, this will be a separate video, so this will be kind of like the intro, and then we'll get right into wheel weights. There may be some older videos kind of mixed in as well of different types of hardware and stuff, but you'll see here as we walk through the saga. I'm just going to talk about wheel weights real quick here. So this is the second set of wheel weights that I'm going to add. So I have an initial set, the 60 pound, just like the set here. I'm going to add a set. Okay, so when you order your set of wheel weights, they may come like this. So there's the number, the BM 17965. Comes in this little crate. So I'm going to spare you the long story, but I was to the dealership 4 times. I believe I have some of the video from the first time I tried installing the weights with the incorrect hardware. So the dealership's going to tell you that there's an initial hardware kit that you get for installing the first set of weights, and then there's a secondary set that's for any additional weights. That secondary set they send you is a hex bolt. That will not work. Okay, so here's the second set that they're going to say you need, and the part number is BM 19951, and this is just like you're going to see here, it's just hex bolts is all it is, and that will not work with adding additional weights. So that's what they send along there. 2 hex bolts, 2 nuts, 2 lock washers, and like I said, the way he explained it is that this would go through the round hole of the first weight, and you'd never get it in between the rim and the weight. It's too long. So obviously this is not the correct kit. So the way this weight is designed, when you stack it, your first set of holes here, that's going to be used for your initial when you mount it to the rim. Then your second set, you're going to use this, and on the back side of this weight, you can see how this is kind of squared out there in that key slot. I think you can see that. Maybe we can zoom it in a little bit here. There, you can see that it's squared. So the next set of weights that you're going to put on, and I don't have the bag open here for a reason, we'll get to that in a second. The second set, so obviously we're putting this on incorrectly. The bolt would actually go like this from the back, but I'm just showing you that this square part of this carriage bolt is going to ride in here. So if this was our first weight that was on the tractor, then your second weight would get stacked. So the problem I had, they sent me a hex head. So a hex head bolt obviously is the wrong bolt for the application, the wrong hardware. They went round and round with me, said nope, that's the right hardware. After he actually brought up one of his diagrams in the parts manual, he said, oh, I can see what you're talking about. So we ordered the initial set of carriage bolts for the first set of weights. Those were too short. So after I came back, this is the third time, I was told that I was doing it wrong, incorrect installation. The fourth time I came back, I said, look, these aren't right. The guy said, well, you must be doing it wrong. I said, I got the hardware, and at that point I had both sets of hardware and I had both weights along. I said, come out to my truck and then attach those 2 weights together, because you could stack them without having them on a rim. The guy said, oh, this hardware won't work. He said, you're gonna have to go to Fastenal or like to a hardware store and buy some carriage bolts. Alright, so I was really frustrated at that point because, one, I read somewhere that the carriage bolts that John Deere used for the initial installation are like a hardened metric carriage bolt, and nobody's going to carry a hardened carriage metric carriage bolt. Hardened metric carriage bolt. No one has them. You can get a SAE, American, whatever you want to call it, bolt. It won't be hardened, but you can get a carriage bolt and it'll be close. But I'm like, that's not right. They sold me the weight. They should have in hardware. So at that point, I called John, some sort of corporate John Deere number. I told the lady, like, the dealership name, the problem I was having, and of course her solution was, we'll go back to the dealer. I said, okay, look, I've been to the dealer 4 times. They told me to get hardware somewhere else. She's like, oh, all right, well, I'm going to open up, and she called it a DTAC, I think DTAC. I don't know what that is, so I went back to the dealership even though I didn't want to have to go back there for a fourth time. And I said to the guy, look, this needs to be done. He's like, well, you know, you must be installing them incorrectly, this and that. I said, well, I called John Deere corporate and they told me I'm supposed to tell you they opened a DTAC, which is, I guess, they opened up a case. That changed their tune immediately. He went back and got a mechanic. I had all my hardware with me again. We went out to my truck with the mechanic and wait. The mechanic looked at it and said, no, that won't work. And the parts guy's like, well, how do you install them? Well, I've been using Ready Rod. I cut it down, or threaded rod, cut it down, just add some bolts to it. And I said, yeah, I could do that. And this mechanic was an old farmer. He said that. I talked with him a little bit. And I said, well, here's the problem I have. I got a warranty on this tractor. And I said, if something goes hocus where this thing breaks off or falls or dents or whatever, I said, you guys are not going to stand behind a warranty. You know that as well as I. You're going to say, well, those weights weren't put on with John Deere hardware the correct way. And then I'm going to be going round and round with them. So the mechanic said, yeah, they should be carriage bolts. And we stacked the weights. He measured it. He looked at it. And the parts guy's like, well, we'll have to see if we got some. He's like, you're not going to have anything. He's like, that's a hardened, and I think these are like 10.9, which I believe is the hardness of the bolt. And the first go around I was told 10.9 was the size, even though the carriage bolt was shorter. So there again, they were lying to me, or they didn't know, and they were just trying to get rid of me. So anyway, I don't know if you can see on this package, he said, I'll take care of it. I'll have to do some digging. And what he found was these bolts are made in Germany. And he said he had to get them from John Deere Germany. After that, like after the DTAC was open, he called me, told me that the bolts were coming from Germany. The nuts and bolts, this is obviously just out of their stock, and I'll explain this in a second. But the bolts were individually shipped. The part number on here, I don't know if it's 03M7505 or if it's the 180515Z, but either way, that's what your dealership should have, and that's to install these weights on a John Deere 3025e. I would assume it's the same as a 3032e and 3038e. These weights can be used on multiple applications, and the problem is the hardware that they have listed is for other applications and not those E-Series tractors, and nobody's willing to admit that and fix the problem. So anyway, so here's the tag that was sent here. I don't know if there's any information on here. These bolts didn't cost me anything. They refunded me all of the previous hardware kits that I had, and they dropped those off at my house. He personally came and dropped them off. So they didn't cost me anything, which they shouldn't. I guess at this point, you know, I've gone around with them. It was a fifth time, so 5 times total that I was dealing with them. Now, just when I was all excited to get these installed today, I got one installed. You'll see in here, there's only 2 nuts. Those are mine. I brought those in. I had to get those because I told him you're going to need 4 nuts total because you got 2 carriage bolts. So I got plenty of carriage bolts because I have a weight installed, but they only sent along 2 nuts and 2 lock washers. So I got 2, and these are metric, nuts to put on, and then I had to get extra lock washers. And I got some different sizes here because I think he actually grabbed the SAE lock washer, which is a different size than a metric. But anyway, went to put them on, and I only grabbed the socket that fit his, apparently, the nuts that were sent with him. The thread size, both the same thread size, all that, but the nut size is a little bit smaller from John Deere than the ones that I got that were metric. Mine must be a 19 millimeter socket, and his take 18. So I only got one installed, which is a little frustrating, and I didn't bring the rest of my sockets along because I didn't think I would need them. I guess that's on me. But if you are doing a second set of wheel weights, and this is getting really long here, a second set of wheel weights, just be prepared. And if they tell you something about going and getting your own hardware, they're wrong. John Deere has hardware. Make them get you the right hardware. It is out there. And it should be, like the mechanic said, it should be a 10.9. It should be a hardened bolt, because that's what they use for that type of hardware. It has to be hardened in order for it to meet their warranty claims. If there's any type of warranty and you want them to stand behind it, you have to have the correct hardware specified by John Deere. Don't listen to the dealership. They really don't care. Here's the doubled up wheel weight. So we got it on there, and this is just like it should be. So if you look back in there, that's the first weight that's going through that circle hole in the back there, and then use your key slot from your first weight back there with the square portion, and bring your bolt in your lock washer and nut. So like I said, I can't put the other one on because I don't have the right socket, because they didn't include the nuts, and apparently the nuts that I had gotten are just a little bit wider, so they must be a little bit thicker than the ones that John Deere used, or the ones that they had at the dealership, I'm assuming. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe next weekend will be a better weekend. That's it for now.